I have no idea. Okay. So we had some issue with LinkedIn, but now we are almost live. So Rui, my name is Marco Russo from Secret BI. This is a brutally honest BI where we try to get real information, no nonsense. Rui Romano is the principal program manager in Microsoft for Power BI developer. Do you want to add something, Rui?
Yeah, so my name is Rui. I'm a product manager on the Power BI team. I focus mostly on pro dev, pro BI features. So how to make those pro dev personas successful with Power BI and in Fabric.
Okay. So what is the so I mean we've started in 5 minutes, so we have the clock there, and I just want to use this time to just sort of lobby introduction. So we start with the real meet in a couple of minutes. What are you going to do next week or next 2 weeks? I think
So
we will meet there.
yeah, really excited about that as well. So I'm traveling to Seattle. I'll be on the with the MVP Summit. So looking really forward to meet with all the MVPs and the community and learn and share our plans, what we are doing, what we are planning to do, and also learn and get the feedback at these early stages. And then I'm traveling to Vegas the week after
Yes.
to the FabCon, and I've been there last year. It was amazing. So looking forward to talk again and do a session about the new era of Power BI development, all the amazing tools and features that
Yeah.
we have today that can make you work smarter.
Okay. So it will be exciting. So I don't want to spoiler what we're going to say because we start in 40 seconds. But I remember we met several times in many conferences, especially in Europe, but also in the United States, because you were talking a lot as a community speaker, if I remember right.
Yeah. I was an MVP
You were an
before
MVP.
joining Microsoft, and I was always very passionate about sharing and working and contributing to the community.
Nice.
I was known for those Power BI hacks presentations.
which is exactly what I wanted to start with. So this introduction is interesting because I met you when you were working as a hacker in the community, like in a way, like many of us, which who are people who try to work around the rules and the documentation, trying to do something that was not supposed to be able. We were not supposed to be able to do. And so I'm very interesting. So not only you come from the hacker community or developer community, but you also come from a small company because you were also building tools as a small company for the Power BI ecosystem, and now you moved on the other side with a big company, blue badge. We say blue badge when you are a Microsoft employee, you have a blue badge, so we call them blue badges. The people that are employed for Microsoft. What is moving from this side to the other side?
Yeah, was quite all right. So I did all my almost 15 years of working in a consulting business in a company in Portugal called DevScope.
Yep.
I'm really proud about the work we did there, especially the people. And I started from junior developer to manager of the entire data team. And moving to the product team and to Power BI, to be honest, to me, it was like a dream come true because I always loved Power BI and was very passionate about Power BI, and having this opportunity to work behind the curtains was very appealing to me. But this shift from consulting to product mindset, it is a challenge, and I'm learning every day because you need to shift from resolving problems, because that's your life as a consultant. You are presented with problems and you need to resolve them, to more into at any cost, and then to think more on providing the tools for others to resolve. And that's a
Mhm.
challenge, especially for someone like me that every time I had a problem, either I found a solution in a supported way, or sometimes we need to find a solution in a non-supported way because we need to find a solution. That's our competitive advantage.
Uh,
And
Now you have
yeah,
more
that's
guardrails, right? So you cannot do
yeah,
whatever you want. You cannot say, "Oh, now we call this service." Who cares, right? Uh,
yeah, and it's a big responsibility because when I say something and I, as a Microsoft FTE, or as a product manager in the working in the product, it's a big responsibility because it now things become okay. If this is how we should do it, others, it's not like okay, this is a hack. This is something that may have consequences. This is something that
I know.
we can get like support tickets saying, hey, there is this you are saying, or this product manager is saying that I should like unzip the PBIX and make changes to it. That's not the same thing.
Well, that's very interesting. So I guess is an incredible challenge moving from the, and all of a sudden you go from a small company to a, the largest software producer of the world, probably one of the biggest ones for sure. The corporate environment is something that I think it would, I don't know how much I will resist. So to be honest, so probably I mean I would create many enemies for sure, for 100% sure. I create enemies just without being employed in Microsoft. I cannot imagine. Um, but I have a question now that you are inside, right? So we worked. I say we because I think to Rui, to someone that was on our side until a few years ago.
I'm still on your side. I'm still on the side
Yeah,
of
but now you cannot say everything. So okay, no, but I'm joking. No, I mean we build tools for the community and different ways. I participated to libraries, Bravo, Duck Studio. I also have an input in other things, and you worked on other tools and libraries. And uh, most of these tools, not all of them, but most of these tools are open source. And open source is also embraced by portion of Microsoft, like Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, .NET as a platform. However, I struggled for so many years looking at the adoption of open source part. I don't want to see everything in Fabric open source. That I'm not asking for that, but a few things could have benefit from the open source community. I'm not a complete. I mean, I believe that there should be open source code and private code. Okay, I'm not a believe. I don't. I'm not an extremist to say, oh, everything should be open source. I think that everything should have its place, but I have seen that the data platform team in general, from SQL to BI, everyone never did much with the open source. What's your take on that? Why is it so difficult? Is it a question of culture or some other reason?
so and this is, let's say, my personal view, and it's sometimes even biased
Of
in the
course.
things that
Right.
I don't know that I track. But yeah, ultimately that it is a cultural thing. But I do feel, at least from the Microsoft culture, since I joined and even before I joined, that Microsoft these days is way more open to open source and than it was before. So things like the SQL in Linux and things like that. But from the let's say the Power BI perspective, or the BI perspective, which is the one that I'm more that I have more visibility to. I do think that we are becoming, and we are doing a lot of things on the open source side, or making ourselves more open. A big example of
Mhm.
that is the entire like developer mode thing. So we are making the entire all the formats like really open, even the
Yep.
reports, which is believe me, an insane amount of investment that we are making to have a public documented report format with schemas and all of that, and all the versioning and handling situations that you can make changes to the report, because uh, even though it's not easy, you can make changes, and we need to support those changes, external changes that you make
Mhm.
outside, and all of that is open source. All the schemas are open, are published, not the code, but at least the format definition, so you can see everything that
Mhm.
is available there. On the Tyndall side as well, the Tyndall language is open source. The language extension that will allow
Yeah.
other vendors, other partners to enhance that, and so we are making that effort. Although there is also this balance of like governance and control, security, legal compliances, because it is, when we make something like, for example, I don't know, the Vertipack or the analysis services engine open source, it also means like raising quite a bit the complexities around the governance and control of that. But I do feel that, at least from the company culture, it's definitely something top of mind. And if you look into Fabric, we embrace all sorts of open source technologies, from Apache, Spark, Delta Lake, Jupyter, Python, DBT. So
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm just to give some context about what I'm saying. We had very long conversations in the past, many years ago. At the beginning of DAX, the question was to, why don't you release a library to parse DAX? Because that would have been a huge boost for community tools to improve the development experience that now. And what we see today is that this only not leverage, let's say that this lack of open source alternatives or even just libraries uh, created tools like tabulator, and I'm also part of that. So I'm not, I would have a conflict of interest saying that, but the tabulator will not exist in its form today if that library or open source code would have been released. And I probably understand that there was no budget or no, but to me, any problem can be solved if there is the will to do that. Because I see Visual Studio Code. Come on, that's a much bigger concern there compared to a parser for a language. And so we're not talking. This is just an example that could extend to many other things. But the libraries for Tom, they're not open source, for example, right? So, which is not a problem, because being in .NET, they are easy to decompile, to be honest. But it's like, to me, is I never understood. So that's the reason why I asked. So I would like to know one day, maybe if someone will tell me, Marco, come on, we're here for the business, so we don't care, and that's fine. But from my point of view, it's a mistake, because
yeah,
I also try to understand the business, and to me, what I understand, why not opening a few things. But anyway, that's the reason why I asked. So I don't want to
yeah.
hijack this conversation too much. But talking about that, so you are working on Tyndall, right? And Tyndall is one of the pieces for something that is the automation of deployment and other things. What we call, let's say, data ops, right? Which is DevOps for data platforms. So in a way, one element that we need is the ability to streamline the deployment and manipulating a text file, and not a a binary format is certainly something that is so. Before going deeper in just the Tyndall part or other, but in general, what challenges you see for the adoption of data ops? Because you're working on the development team, but what do you see out there, right? This is part of the next question. But
Yeah,
what are the challenges that you see at the moment in general?
yeah, and honestly, I saw those challenges more when before joining the product team as a consultant, because we're working with teams and implementing data projects. This was with different people, with different customers, and our role most of the times were not actually implement the full project, but work with the customer teams to do the things they should in the best way possible. But I still see that even now in the product team, from the feedback that I get from the community, social media, MVPs, every source of feedback that I can get of, that the main challenge is still that people need to understand that data ops, it's not like something that you can flip and it's going to work. It's an investment, and it's a methodology that you need to invest, you need to train, and you need to keep going, and trust that if you do that, you will collect the benefits in the end, and it will pay off. And we know that it will pay off, because when we see a team that is adopting a good data ops strategy, they get it insanely more effective. Their projects are more reliable, they are more agile. But it's also important to understand that you don't need to go from OneDrive and PBIX to like Git flow full of like complex branch strategies and full of pipelines automating everything. You can start small. You can start small and then you can grow big if you and it's a journey. So you can start from, for example, and I keep saying this when I talk about the PBIP, the Power BI project and developer mode, people associate that to source control and Git. You can use it, you can get a ton of benefit even if you don't have Git. Just the fact that you are saving to a folder a non-binary file, and that lets you, okay, I want to see this measure, the DAX code of this measure. You can just open the file and you see the DAX code of the measure, and you can copy it to another thing, to another file. You can start there and then evolve. But for sure, you need to get some training. You need to learn the basics. You need to learn how to use Git. You need to use, or I don't even say Git. You need to learn how to use source control and to be able to collaborate with others.
It seems to me the same path of developers who were developing on their machine, and then all of a sudden they move to DevOps, and it's different, right? So it's no longer you have more, you have benefits, but there is an initial price to pay for that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But talking about that, how much are we, the community, pushing for CI/CD and this data ops thing, and how much you receive the push from real customer outside of the conferences? Okay, outside. So if when I attend a conference, I always say, okay, this is the bubble of the people that attend the conference, which represent a small portion of the market. The market is not this one. The market is completely different. Sometimes these are, say, people who drive the change, which is important. So the people who attend the conference, the people who attend the user groups, they are leading the change, and sooner or later this will arrive to the market. But sometimes there are requests that are within the bubble but don't represent the real market. So my question is, how much do you receive the push from customers, real customers that don't attend the conferences?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I need to admit that I may be a little bit biased on the feedback that I get, because I follow these topics, right? So and especially on things like social, like LinkedIn, you'll start to see a lot of CI/CD people complaining about lack of CI/CD because you follow that. So I do feel, and I do see the community asking a lot for CI/CD. Now, it is true, or CI/CD mechanism, but it is true that especially on the Power BI developers, that it's not something that and let me see the best way to say this because the kind of in the last few years they stopped complaining about it. And the reason why I believe and I hypothesize that they stopped complaining about it was mainly because of community and community tools such as Tablet Editor. PBI tools that allow these developers, together with the Power BI APIs, to fill the gaps. Because you could already do actually very strong CI/CD processes even before the Git integration and developer mode, because you could use tablet editor, save the BIM file, put the BIM file into a DevOps repo, and have best practice analyzers and all of that, and the automation of deployment with the XMLA endpoint. It works. So I felt that in the last few years there was not that this was not important, but because there were workarounds and people were happy with those workarounds, and it worked fine. Now, it is also definitely true that this is not the concern for the majority of Power BI developers, because for self-service users, they don't care about CI/CD. What
Yep.
the people that care about CI/CD are the more like the pro dev users, the BI Corp the developers that need to work in teams and deploy reliability with a lot of reliability. Now, from large companies out there that are adopting Power BI, and also again they already had solutions to this problem, but now that we are moving into Fabric and we have other workloads such as pipelines, notebooks, data warehouses, that's a fundamental. And that's a fundamental that, and we still have, and we are resolving those some gaps on, at least on the consistency thing, like having a consistent story of CI/CD across workloads, and we making a lot of investments on the Fabric APIs and the ability to deploy with service principles, and going from self-service CI/CD with deployment pipelines if you want, and that can work, and it will work for, I won't say the typical self-service user, but a self-service user that at least understands, okay, I want to have a development playground, a place where I can do my development. I want to publish in another location, to Fabric Git, or even, okay, complete control with APIs and pipelines. But yeah, it is definitely something that we have on top of mind, and as a strategic investment to make sure that we have a seamless experience across the board, not only for Power BI but all the workloads in Fabric.
Your answer raised an interesting point that I want to ask you. So, as long as the Power BI, okay, so let me start from a little bit an initial consideration. So Power BI has been introduced as a self-service BI tool. And when it was still a self-service BI tool with no features and no preparation to be a corporate BI tool, it was already used by companies to create projects that were corporate BI. So I was looking, oh, we have to do a project in Power BI. I said, I mean, Power BI years ago was not supposed to be a tool for creating projects, right? It was supposed to be a tool for self-service BI. And it became adopted by, solution of corporate BI because it was easier, cheaper, mainly cheaper, but also had features that other tools didn't have. Nowadays, when we talk about this topic about CI/CD, we mainly talk about corporate BI. I mean, even if you say, oh, but it could be self-service, come on. The skills that you should have today to create an end-to-end solution with Fabric resemble what you had to do long time ago with multidimensional, when you had to know, oh, you have to know data warehousing, then you have to know integration services, then you have to know analysis services, then you have to know MDX, and then you have to know how to create a report with reporting services. The total amount of training days that was planned was like 23 or 25. The Microsoft official curriculum. So you know, I mean, you cannot say this is self-service. Come on, if you need 25 days of training, full day,
yeah.
That's today. I think that this increased. It didn't decrease because we changed the tools, but we are back there. And if we add a CI/CD, that's corporate BI. So the real question is, self-service BI is no longer hyped, but did it become a commodity? So we take it for granted, but it is there because there are many people using it, or just people are, moving away from self-service BI, moving just to corporate BI. What's your take?
Yeah, so it's definitely not a new thing anymore, right? So it's not a new thing anymore that I I see users like, especially business users and self-service BI users, they simply expect to be able to explore and analyze data without IT or without a big investment. So that's, in that way, I do think it's becoming a commodity. So it's not that they see this all the time from all the vendors, all the solutions, that okay, I can just drag and drop data and explore, and it should just be easy for me to explore any kind of data. There are
Mhm.
still challenges and also opportunities, but challenges on, for example, the part of the governance
Yep.
and balance between the self-service and the data security and the duplication, because yeah, there was the Excel hell, but now there is probably also the self-service BI hell. Like very it's so easy, so you can just open Power BI and upload some Excel, and now you are just dragging and dropping and creating dashboards. But it's also easy to create a lot of noise, a lot of the same data and the same types of reports and the same KPIs. So governance is still a struggle, and especially
Mm.
on the corporate side, it's still something
Yeah.
that is a challenge. Although I think it's way better than having departments having uh, Excels or network shares and access databases, and that they didn't even knew. And there is also this
I know.
AI uh, powered analytics that is also pushing the boundaries. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's not about creating dashboards, it's more about having a good semantic model, a good data organized in a way that will help me answer and use natural language to just explore and have agents that will know what I want and when I want things. um, so I would say that definitely a commodity
Mm.
from the functionality thing, like just
Yeah.
okay, I just want to explore data, and I will not understand why I cannot explore that data very
Mm.
easily. But still not a commodity on the challenges, especially on the
Yeah. No, no,
governance
I
side.
completely understand. I have a last question because we go out of time now, but I need to ask you, how often do you look at ideasfabric.com, formerly known as ideas.powerbi.com?
Quite often, especially during planning and
Mm.
when on the spec phase, because as a PM you work a lot on
Yeah.
specs and designing things, and it's really really important to, when I go and defend a spec or defend a feature that we want to build, to back that out with feedback from community, feedback from our enterprise customers. We're using the CAT team,
Yeah.
does an amazing job. It's a very important source of feedback, and it's because without that, I'm just a PM with an opinion.
Yeah.
With
No,
that,
no, no.
I'm a
I
PM
completely
with a arsenal of of weapons that I can say, hey, I have this idea. For example, you have one idea that helped me a lot since I joined, like that design. What's the name of the idea? It's the design. Uh,
I wrote many, so
it's the one on the allowing the generation of a PBIX, or opening the,
oh, that's a very old one.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very old one, and
I know.
the developer mode in PBIP
Look,
answers
that
many of that.
I completely understand, but the point is that that idea was supposed to help Microsoft to
Yeah,
get people who were working on premises moving to the cloud sooner. Now you will implement this idea once everyone will be on the cloud. So at that point will be, I would say, not useful for the original purpose.
yeah, Yeah,
but that's fine.
but
I mean,
yeah, that's
it's
the, but
only
that is
I
all the
don't
other
want to say
purposes of like
I
source control and all of that. But yeah,
I guess that the idea is either of it has been written either in 2015 or 16, and
yeah,
I leave to the audience to do the math about how much time it passed, and we still have. I mean, it's good that he's a driver, right? It was not supposed to be to last so long, to be honest. Okay, thank you very much
thank
for
you.
this first episode of Brutally Honest BI. I hope to see you very soon and in Redmond. And thank you again for attending.
You too. Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.